So welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Gretchen Rehm from Rehm Financial. And Gretchen and I are longtime personal friends. And she has been my long-term insurance agent, or one of my wealth resources in my life, and a good friend. And so welcome to At the Kitchen Table.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm all the way here in Minnesota too, for people who are not aware of that. So born and raised in Colorado, but have been in Minnesota now for over 20 years. So if I have a Minnesota accent, I apologize.
Yeah, you picked that up along the way. You didn't have that when we were friends in high school, but
I know. And all of you Coloradans tell me that I have this Minnesota accent now.
It's good. It suits you. I like it. So we'll go ahead and back up then and just tell us bring us up to speed on where you grew up, how you came to move, what did that feel like as a young person leaving the state, and why didn't you come back?
Yeah, my mom's still asking me that question too. So I grew up in Arvada, Colorado, went to high school with Amanda at Arvada West High School, graduated in 1999, and college soccer brought me to Montana, which I left and went to Montana to play college soccer. And I went to Montana State University in Billings, and I was a goalkeeper in soccer. And I was fortunate to go play Division II soccer out there, landed out there, ended up meeting a friend of ours, actually from Arvada, named Trevor Cook, who played hockey with my husband. And we got introduced out there, and he is from Minnesota. And so what happened was I fell in love, ruined my soccer career, and finished playing soccer, and then fell in love. And that brought me to Minnesota. And I started my insurance business back in 2003 here in southern Minnesota.
How did you land in insurance? Like, how did that come to show up for you? Like, where did that come from?
So I get this question a lot because people don't aspire to be financial advisors and insurance agents. I talk to a lot of high schools and a lot of, professional organizations. We don't go to school to be this, that's for sure. So what happened is I was actually at a country concert called We Fest in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. And we ran into somebody that my husband went to high school with, and I needed a job. It was in 2003. The economy wasn't super great for jobs. I had just graduated. I actually went to school for public relations and marketing, and I wanted to do pro sports marketing. I actually had an internship with his old hockey team when he left, worked for them, did sports promotions, sold, the dasher boards, the ice logos, all that kind of stuff, all the on ice events, loved it. But knew that being a female in the sports industry is pretty tough.
Yeah.
Number one. But number two, I wanted to have a family, and you travel a lot. You have weird hours. I'm like, this is not going to be conducive for a mom when I wanted to have a family.
Yeah, you knew that young that you wanted to have kids.
Mm-hmm. And I just was like, this is awesome. It's so fun. I mean, you're doing really fun things. You're going to talk to the media about the teddy bear toss and collecting teddy bears to go deliver to the children's hospital and all these really fun things. But it just wasn't, I had to work on New Year's. I had to work on Thanksgiving. I had to work on Christmas. I had to work weekends, nights. And I was like, this is not what I want to do as a mom.
Yeah, you came to know that early, right? Like that's workable for the long term, right?
Right. And the other thing is in sports, a lot of times the ownership changes a lot. And you get a new ownership or a GM in, and they bring in all their new people. So there's changes all the time. So the stability wasn't great either. And so it just wasn't something I was like, this isn't really what I want to do. It was fun, but long term, it just wasn't going to work. And so
you go to We Fest.
I was at We Fest, and this girl's like, you should join insurance. I can get you a job with my company called Horace Mann. I'm like, perfect, I'll apply. And then I'm like, I'll do that for 2 years. And then my husband and I, well, we weren't married at the time, we were still dating. He's like, why don't you take it? I can go to, he was going to transfer from his college where he was playing college hockey to a Division III school here in southern Minnesota. And he's like, you take that job, I'll go to school there, and then we'll go back to Montana when you graduate, find a different job. Perfect. So I did the personality test. They hired me. That was, insurance sometimes.
That was the barrier to entry. The barrier to entry was, how are you wired?
Yep. And they just, they need people. So they just get as many people as they possibly can, and they hope they stick. And so I applied. They gave me the job, and I started my own business at the age of, I was 22 when it happened, because I actually didn't have my birthday yet. And I always tell people this funny story. I had no money and I had to buy my own marketing materials. I bought a really cheap suit from J.C. Penney's, and I just started going out there and peddling insurance to people.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, I ended up being pretty good at it. And I was like, wow, like I probably can't leave this. I'm making pretty good money. I'm my own boss. Nobody's telling me what I can and cannot do.
Which was good for you because you're an extrovert. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so here I am 23 years later doing the same exact thing, living in southern Minnesota with my family.
And it's a testament to just how we aren't really in control of our plans, and that in theory, if we keep doing what we enjoy and it doesn't feel like work and you just keep living your dreams, then in that will be your success. So okay, so you go to Horace Mann and you find a little bit of success there early, and you start selling insurance, and it's interesting because the product you originally sold me was a whole life insurance policy, but you were doing insurance of a variety of sorts, right? You were writing auto, home insurance, like whatever people know as residential insurance.
Yep. So we call it personal lines: auto, home, life, retirement, disability, long-term care. And then I do financial planning as well. So managed assets, mutual funds, ETFs, all that type of stuff.
But you grew into that later, right?
I did. Yeah. So I started my career mainly on the insurance side and then grew into the financial piece through my career. And I primarily work a lot with educators in what we call the 403B space, which is basically a 401k for teachers. And so I have a lot of clients that I work with on their 403B plan, which is their 401k plan for educators.
What's the most common mistake that you think people make when trying to figure out sort of their insurance and wealth strategy? What's like a common error?
I would say the number one biggest thing is not acting. So I talk about that with people all the time. There's a lot of people in our industry that make this job really difficult. We have a lot of jargon in our industry. There's a lot of high-tech words. There's a lot of really challenging IRS terms. Just the verbiage is really challenging.
Yep.
And so people just get scared and they don't act. And so one of the number one things that I always talk, and this was one of your questions, what's your best advice given that I would give to a client, is just acting. I don't care where you put your money, just save your money. Just put it into a Roth account, an IRA, your 401k, just do something, because what ends up happening is they don't do anything and then they're 55, 60 and they've not saved a dime.
I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. I was talking about how like the old days of the pension are gone. And, that's going to be a real problem for our generation. I feel like that people are going to wake up one day and realize they didn't save anything.
Correct. And it's amazing how many people don't even take advantage of like the free money that's available to them at their employer, because they don't know how to sign up. They don't know how to act. And so, like I tell a lot of my clients, just sign up for the match you get. Like that's at least getting you started and doing something. It's just the act. Just you have to do something.
All right. So you're saying if your employer offers a 401k, or in your case, the teacher 403B, people make a common mistake by not just signing themselves up to participate in the plan. And they have to put in, like, if the employer matches 3%, they have to put 3% of their income in, but the employer will match them 3% for a total of 6%, which you're saying is free money, is what you're calling it.
Correct. I always tell my clients, it's kind of like if your employer came to you and said, I'm going to give you a check for 3% of your salary for the year. Do you want it? And you said, no, I'm good. I don't want it. You would never do that.
Right.
You would say, yes, I want that money. And that's exactly what you're doing. Like you take it. And there's vesting periods and all these plans have different rules, but it's just the act of getting started.
Time is of the essence, essentially, right? Time is of the essence. Don't let time tick by.
Yep. Don't let time tick by. And then I equate it a lot to like working out. Like once you get started in working out, it's a lot easier just to keep going every day. But if you stop and you don't go, then it's like, oh God, it's hard. It hurts again. Your muscles hurt, your legs hurt. And then it's like, okay, I don't want to go.
Yeah, you have to get the muscle built up, right? And then once it's strong, you kind of can keep going. Yeah.
Yep. And we are teaching these lessons to our children at a very young age. Regan and I, so we have 3 kids. We have a just turned 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an 11-year-old. And our 16-year-old and our 13-year-old, they're on a budget. They're learning how to budget. They're learning how to run a credit card, which pay off their credit card. They're learning how to keep track of their money, which for Reese is not going very well. Regan and I had a conversation today about having to change that, and we're gonna have to do something different for her. We're gonna have to probably go to the cash method because she's not doing a very good job with it.
You're gonna have to Dave Ramsey her and put her money in an envelope, and she's gonna have to pay.
That's what I said. We're going to go back to the cash method for her and get her built up on that and just show her. But it's amazing to see them do that. And I talk about this with my clients a lot too. Like I have 60-year-olds that can't balance their budget, that don't track their money. So, and it's just habits, like she was like, I don't understand where my money went. And I'm like, you bought a $100 sweatshirt at a concert and a blanket at Valley Fair. That took up over 75% of your monthly budget in 2 days. Like, yeah,
My kids, the classic thing with my kids is he'll go to his little money box and he'll count his cash. And he'll be like, I have X amount of cash and I want to buy this thing on Amazon that exceeds the amount of cash he has in his money box, right? And it's like, well, you want me to make you a loan? That's going to cost you interest, right? I'm trying to charge these kids compounding interest, right? So they understand if they borrow money from me, it actually grows if they don't pay it back, But so these are some of the timeless principles, right? Which is, act now, which is your advice. And that also means you can't buy the time back. My dad used to say, if you don't start now investing, you literally cannot get the time back. And we've all heard those little adages, or the little Warren Buffett adages, where it's like, if you doubled a penny every day, by the age of 60 or whatever, you'd have like a couple million or whatever. It's like so much money. But in fact, Gretchen, this is how you and I came to be in a business relationship together, was that Ryan and I had just gotten married. Maybe it was 2009. And you called and said, I have this funny little product, but I need you to see it.
Yep. And it's whole life insurance.
Yeah, it's variable universal life. So it's a little bit different, but it same concept. It's got
in layman's terms, simply, what's the difference between like term life insurance and variable life whole insurance, or those policies that people who have children can buy to protect themselves and their assets?
Yeah, so we call it permanent and term insurance. So permanent is anything that has some sort of cash value buildup in the policy, and term insurance is there's no cash value, there's no cash incentive. All it is you buy straight life insurance, and then if something happens, it pays out. But there's no cash incentive, where most permanent plans have some sort of other benefit, usually some sort of cash value in them. Mm-hmm. And in your case, you have some cash value building up in there. So if you decide you want to be done with it, you could take your money and walk away. Term is just you're buying straight insurance, kind of like car insurance. You pay for car insurance and you may never have a claim on your car insurance and you don't ever get that money back. Term is the same way. You pay. And then once your term period is up, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, it's done.
Yeah.
And you don't get any money back.
And as I understand it, the term is like you're just buying insurance.
Correct. Straight insurance.
But the whole life stuff, there's a term aspect to it. So part of the money is used for term insurance and the other part of the money is the investment. So it's technically a little bit more expensive month over month.
Correct. Yeah, on your specific product. Yeah, but every product's different. That's the other thing about our industry. When we talk about making things difficult, we have so many products out there. It's kind of like loans in your business and real estate. You can get an ARM, you can get a fixed. There's all like same thing in our business. There's term, there's universal life, there's variable universal life, there's index. I mean, there's so many options that sometimes this
is why people drown in this. This is why people drown.
That's exactly why. And I try really hard to keep it simple, stupid with my clients. Like, hey, let's find a need. Let's figure out what you can afford and let's act and no one ever says I've unfortunately had to pay out death benefit claims where I've had to deliver money to families who have lost loved ones. And they don't ever say, is this a term life policy payment? Is this a whole life policy payment? It's life insurance. And so it's really like, let's find your need. Let's figure out what you can afford, and I'll find a solution for you.
I feel like many people don't like talking about the concept of death. And so they just, like little ostriches, they just bury their heads.
They don't act.
How do you get people to see the inevitable? What's the trick to softly talking about money and death?
Unfortunately, I use real life stories that I have had to do in my business, whether it's friends, colleagues. It's the unfortunate side to my business. Whenever we sell this stuff, I always tell people, I hope it never pays out, whether it's a death, life insurance claim, if it's a long-term care policy where someone has a stroke and they're in a nursing home, a disability where they can't work anymore, or even unfortunately, I've had a couple house fires in my career, which a lot of agents have never had a house fire. I've had 3 in my career, 2 of them been total losses. And it's one of those things when you sell it, you hope and pray that it never pays out, but it does. And so I give real life stories. One of my really great clients to this day, 20 plus years later, was one of the toughest things I had to do very early on in my career. I was probably 1.5 to 2 years in my career. And I had I had a car insurance client whose daughter died in a car accident. And when you go through training and you go to
they don't train you for this shit, right? Yeah.
They never teach you that. They don't ever tell you what you need to do. You had asked, one of the questions that you had also asked was kind of like a mentor in this business. I had called one of my mentors and I said, holy cow, one of my really good clients' daughter just died in a car accident. What am I supposed to do? And they said, you go to their house.
You go.
Yep, you go. And I'm like, what do you mean you go? And they're like, you just show up at their house. And I said, well, what do I say? Doesn't matter. Oh, what do I bring? It doesn't matter. You just go. And I'm like,
right. They're not going to remember what you said. They're not going to remember what you brought. They're going to remember that you showed.
Yep.
And that's the interesting part about, entrepreneurship in general, which is that, people just remember how you made them feel.
Correct. And that's the biggest thing with, I was actually just on an airplane going to DC with my daughter last week, and there was a flight attendant on there. And she was probably one of the rudest flight attendants I've ever had in all the years I've flown. And we were on a newer plane and we were with a middle school group. And the newer plane had these screens that had the call button in the screen. And mine went off. I didn't touch it. I didn't push the call button. I didn't do anything, but it went off automatically. And so she comes over the thing and she says, ma'am, if you are having a 911 emergency or whatever, push your call button again. But we are in descent and you are not allowed to be getting out of your seat or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't touch anything. And so then it goes off again. And so then she storms up. She comes over and she's like, what is your emergency? And I'm like, I didn't touch anything. I didn't do anything. And she was always a little bit rude, like grabbing my cup. And like, I don't know, she was just not very friendly.
Yeah.
And so she pushes my button again and she's like, do not touch this again. Quit touching the screen. And just like chews me out. And I'm like, wow. And I took my daughter and I said, you will never treat your clients like this. I was like, that is an example. And it took everything I had to not like go yell at her. Cause I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be someone on a YouTube video where I'm getting hauled off by police if I do that.
Well, I would expect this of you, Gretchen, hauling.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, oh my God, just use this as a learning lesson for your daughter that as a business owner, like if this was my staff member talked to my clients this way,
yes,
how would I allow this? And so I said, Reese, that person should not talk to me like that. Like that is a client. I am a client. And instead she should have said, ma'am, I'm sorry that went off. Please, like just handle it a little bit different. But she
has stood next to you and said nothing. And you could have said, I didn't touch the screen. I don't know why it's going off.
And then when she was walking back, she was mocking me. She said she wasn't touching the, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Example of how not to be, right? And I think ugly behavior like that is in fact some of the best easily earned lessons that we can teach our kids, which is just like, don't act like that. Look what a jerk she looked like. You know, I didn't touch the screen. She came over with assumptions about what had happened, you know, and made a fool of herself. And of course, your daughter probably, you know, you walk away from that situation, your daughter thinking, you know, my mom actually handled that really well. And that, that looked like a total jerk. But the point is, we're back to insurance, which is don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. And in this field of work, we have a tough job. Like, we have rates increasing constantly. People aren't happy with claims. On the investment side, the market's been not the most friendliest the last 6 months. So we have to do a lot of psychology and talking through people and really and educating people. And, you know, one of the best advice that I always give in this industry is always just being present. Like, you just have to tackle hard things no matter what, whether it's the market, whether it's a bad claim, whether it's somebody's premium increase went way up, just tackle it. That's all clients are asking for, is for you to just actually be there to help them, because that 1-800 number that they have to call for Geico or Progressive, or even some of the online investment companies, they're sitting on hold for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. If someone calls to our office, they don't sit on hold, and they talk to one of our staff members or my husband and I. Yeah. And we give them an answer. They may not like what we have to tell them, but we are at least giving them an answer, and we are taking care of them. And that is one thing that we pride in our business, is our customer service to our clients.
For sure. So tell me a little about your team structure. So you've got just a small staff, right? And you and your husband are both in sales.
Yep. So it's my husband and I, and then we have 3 full-time employees. We have 2 who work primarily on the insurance space. Yep. And then I have one who works with me. She's kind of my paraplanner, kind of like a paralegal. She works directly with me and my clients on the advisory side. So she's in charge of, customer service, but also like paperwork. She's kind of my assistant. She can help with a lot of the day-to-day stuff as well. So there's a total of 5 of us in our office. And then we do have a part-time marketing person as well, who handles all of our social media, blogs, newsletters, anything that you see in writing that is out in the public, she handles as well.
What's been the hardest part of the small business? Because this is real small business. This is,
yep,
small outfit, lots of clients, high volume.
I would say the hardest part is, one of the most challenging is just like, we know we need to expand, but having good people is a really big deal to us. So we are really slow to hire and kind of quick to fire. So we know that we need more people, and we have a really incredible dynamic with our team. And we will not bring somebody in unless it fits our team really, really, really well.
The culture, yeah. The culture becomes so hard to protect, right?
Correct. We have one of probably the strongest cultures probably in a business, that I would say that is hard to mimic for a lot of companies.
Yeah. What is that? How do you replicate that? How can you attribute your style or your compensation? Like, what is it that keeps people there, that keeps them in the nest and everybody rowing in the boat in the same direction?
I would say a big one is we are very flexible with their hours, and they work pretty much a 35-hour week. And if they need a day off or they need to go to the dentist, we are very flexible as long as they get their work done. And we're very appreciative of that. So if our business in a whole does well, everybody wins. So, if we see growth in income as a entire business, everybody gets paid a profit. Everybody gets a part of the growth of the business. We know, Regan and I know, that we literally could not do this job and run this business without our team. And especially because we are very involved parents, and we do a lot of, side work with coaching. I'm on a school board. We belong to other foundations and boards, and really just trying to be really active in our children's sports lives as well. So we are not around a lot. So we need a team that can function when we're not here. And our success is highly, highly because of them. And so if our business does well, they also reap the benefits. And we try really hard to compensate them well, treat them well, give them time off. We have a massage chair in our office. We allow them to take
Who
their
gives
dog.
the massages? Oh, you do. Oh, just the chair. The chair
It's
gives
a
the
chair.
It's not the upright that you lay face down, and
No,
it's the downright
no.
that you lay in with
It's
the.
it's a button. You push a button. You know, we have dogs in our office, so we bring our dog every day. Maddie brings her dog every day. You know, we just try to create an environment that it's a family environment that you know, I don't even know how to explain it, but we kind of like with our clients, we treat them the way we want to be treated, and we treat our clients the way we want to be treated.
How did you decide to get into business with your husband? How did that evolve? I mean, because you know the therapy's got to be going all right, right?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, a lot. This is probably one of the number one questions I get because we're true business partners. We work in the same office. We are not each other's bosses. I don't boss him around. He doesn't boss me around. But what happened is when 2009, we were pregnant with our oldest, and my business kind of had taken off. He was working in commercial airplane sales, and he was selling commercial airline parts. And my business had kind of taken off. And what I'm really strong at is client relationships, marketing, and really working with clients. What I don't like to do is kind of the HR CFO role. It's not that I can't do it, I just don't like doing it.
Sure, right.
And so his trade, he went to school to be an accountant, is handling books and taxes and all that. So he enjoys that side of it.
Yeah.
And so I came to him and said, I can't do this side anymore. It's getting to be too much for me. I need help. And he's like, well, nobody else is going to run our books and run our money. So I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to handle that.
Yeah.
And so he quit his job and he took over all the books. And then I also said to him, we need to look at starting an independent insurance agent as well for all the stuff that I can't write.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that I can't.
Horace Mann, and they kind of had you boxed in, right?
Yeah, they have a model that they don't do like commercial stuff. They had a really tight underwriting model. And so it was allowing me to not, I was walking away from a lot of business that we couldn't write. We live in the country, so we have farms. We couldn't do farms. And so there was a lot of things that we couldn't do. And so it would allow us to be able to pick up that business that I was paying for in marketing that I couldn't write. And so he could write all the stuff I couldn't do.
Yeah. So he went and got his insurance license, came alongside you and picked up the stuff that.
Yep. And then he took over all HR for staffing and all taxes and bill pay and really anything to do on the CFO side of the business.
Yeah. And in fact, he was doing things you didn't like doing, and that was what made it work, right?
Yep. Another piece of advice that I was told early on in my career is do what you're good at and hire out what you don't like to do or what you're not good at. Mm-hmm. Just like I never liked cold calling or doing phone calls. So from the start of my career, I hired someone to do phone calls for me. I didn't like staying up at night, late at night when people are around to make calls. So I hired a person I paid hourly to make all my appointments, and they'd call and set all my appointments. I don't like to write social media posts and blogs and newsletters because I'm not a very good writer. So that's why my content, I give her on a weekly to biweekly basis all the content, and she makes it turn into beautiful cupcakes because if I wrote it, it wouldn't be good.
Well, it's so interesting, Gretchen. You're so driven, and you have continued at this really high pace for such a long time. And I wonder, like, in a place of vulnerability, like, what is it, in fact, that you think drives you? And I mean, at how long do you think it's sustainable for one to drive this hard? And where do you think that leads? And how do you think you keep going? How do you find the energy to keep going?
So, I think the biggest thing is now for me, what drives me number one is my family and my clients. My clients are a big one. Like if it weren't for them, we would have nothing. I wouldn't have the time that I have to go to all the sports that I go to. I wouldn't have the ability to travel with my kids. I wouldn't have the ability to own my commercial building. We wouldn't have the ability to do all the things that we do without the trust that the clients that I have really put into me all these 20 years. And especially
like dose of gratitude for them to start, right?
Huge gratitude. And I look back, when I transitioned from Horace Mann and when I went independent, I turned off the light at 5:00 and I had a non-solicitation on my clients that I couldn't talk to them for a full year. And I turned off that light, and I didn't know if I was ever going to hear from a single one of them again when I turned off that light.
Yeah.
And the next morning, my phone, people found me, people came to me, people wanted to be with me. Like, it was huge. The gratitude that I have for them trusting me with their money, their personal trust on their insurance. I mean, all their personal belongings. I mean, their biggest assets are their homes, their vehicles, their retirement assets, their family, and then, my family drives me. I've got to show my children that you can run a business, that you can do this kind of stuff, that if you want to have a lifestyle that we live today, that you got to show up every day. You got to go to work. And it was kind of fun. And we moved into this new commercial space that we have now in September. And our kids have never really they didn't see when I first started, they didn't see that my commission checks were tiny and that I had to buy my JCPenney suit on clearance and then have to reuse it and reinvest into the business and make all my own food for marketing events because I couldn't afford to cater.
Right.
They didn't see that. So I took them back to my original office to see, like, here's what I started, you guys. I was in an office that was half the size of the one that I just office in today. And this is how I started. Like, I had to work from sun up to sundown. And I heard no over and over and over and over again. And you just keep pounding the pavement. Like, you're going to hear no, and you just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. So having them see this business that we've built, my husband leaving his very successful career to join and grow our business, like, that's what drives me. Like, we have to continue down this path because he could have stayed in that, but he believed in me and he believed in this business and he knew he had to. So I have to continue. What's next is it's time for me to get another advisor. It's time for me to get someone to share the responsibility in this as well, so I can even make it bigger.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be in a growth mindset to stay there, but I think, that can be hard at 22 years in any career or 23 years in any career. And so I come to you very humbled that you've been able to stay after this for so long with such success. That's actually more rare than it is common, to look at people who can continue on in a high level of success for a very long time. And so, and I originally created a list of people I wanted to interview in the podcast because I sat down and created a list of people who had shaped my success. And you were on the original list, and you're welcome. And so that is the stuff that keeps us going, right? Is to look back on the friendships and the relationships, both business and personal, that have, brought us to this unbelievable life that we live. And I mean, I just want you to know that the reason I wanted to give you a chance to just share about your business was because I'm in a tremendous place of gratitude for the policies that you sold us, but also just the financial advice that you gave us. And, you just helped coach us along the way. And for that, I'm very grateful. So.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited that I'm the first time I've ever been on a podcast. So this is exciting. I've talked to a lot of industry groups, and I do a lot of talks to, schools and stuff like that. But this is my first podcast. So I was a little nervous, but.
Oh, you did real good. You did real good. And
thank you.
It's interesting, I think. And I look at somebody like you, and I mean, you really have a depth of knowledge about your business, as I think is fair to say for myself. And so in some ways it becomes sort of my next service, which is to get what's here out and to surround myself with people who've influenced me and just to get this information into the ears and minds of people who have to go do it behind us, And so I think you should do more podcasts is the point.
I know. I actually have thought about doing them more. The hard part is our industry has so many regulatory rules, as you know, with what I sent you, that it makes it sometimes challenging to do some of this stuff because we have to do all these extra steps. And so you are like, I don't even want to deal with it because it's like all these different rules.
And I think so much of what people want is just the strategy, not so much the product knowledge. I mean, yes. Products are one thing, but people love success and they love the story and the journeys to success. I want to ask you one question in closing, and I want you to share a little bit about your youngest and your path to adoption and how that shaped you and how it strengthened your business and your marriage?
Yeah. So we have 3 children. Our oldest is 16. Like I said, our daughter is 13, and then our youngest is 11. So we had always wanted 3 kids. We had a lot of complications with the first 2. Our oldest was a huge mess. Like, you wouldn't know by looking at him, but he was born with a ton of birth complications. He ended up having a 2-vessel umbilical cord. And then our daughter had also an umbilical cord issue. And so we found out when we were pregnant with both of them that there's 6 problems you can have with umbilical cords, and we had 2 of the 6 problems, and less than 1% of pregnancies have those. And so when it came time to have the 3rd child, I was like, I don't think we were really meant to do this. Like,
I don't want to test my chances on another umbilical cord issue, right?
Yeah, like something's not right. And we had genetic testing done and nothing came out wrong. So we were not really sure what it was, but it just wasn't right. So we decided to explore adoption. And we were very fortunate to get our son Rogan, and he is from Las Vegas. We did a domestic infant adoption, and it's a very long journey for anyone who has done adoption. We didn't do foster adopt. We went through a private organization called Evolve. It's out of one of the offices in Edina, Minnesota. And the adoption world is definitely, if you have any listeners out there who, feel free to reach out to me. I'll definitely love to tell you stories about the adoption if you're looking or interested in it. We are very open about our story. But we ended up matching with his birth mom. Her name is Chantel. She lives out in Washington now. We did do an open adoption. We haven't spoken to her for years. Unfortunately, we just need to do that. We just haven't. She matched with us. It's kind of like online dating. The birth mom picks you through a series of photo books. We built a photo book of our family. She really liked how we had other kids. She loved how we travel a lot. We're really big into sports, and she really liked our family. And so she chose our family. One of the things that her and I connected over a lot is actually rap music. If anyone knows me, I'm
Gretchen,
90s rap music. You probably remember going to football games. But I still rock all my hilarious 90s rap music to this day.
That's funny.
And her and I really connected. She didn't think she had a lot in common with me until I shared my views on 90s hip hop, and kind of became the thing that connected us and why she chose our family. And so we got a call at 7 p.m. I was eating hibachi with my family, and they called us and said, we have a little boy that we think will be perfect for your family in Las Vegas. Would you like to come out and meet him? And so I flew on the next red eye out to Vegas, met him, and fell in love with him. And then the rest is history. And now Rogan is in our family, and he is something else. And he is following in his mom's footsteps. He is becoming a soccer goalie as well.
Right. I like it.
So I'm the crazy mom that's giving him all the tips on the sidelines on being a goalie, and I'm turning him into a goalkeeper just like his mama. The other 2 had no interest in soccer, but he's definitely turning into it. But yeah, it's been a great journey. He's a great kid. We're so fortunate to have him complete our family, and he is definitely meant to be ours.
Well, good. Maybe he can be a soccer goalie and an insurance agent one of these days, and then that story will come full circle, and he'll indeed have been meant to be yours. And so that is really sweet. And I think, it just rounds you out as just a reminder of just what actually a lovely person you are, what a big-hearted person you are, and ambitious and driven, and somebody I'm in great admiration of. And I love you, and thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you. I love you too. And thank you to having me today. I mean, like I said, this is my first podcast. I'm super.
Killed it, Gretchen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.